Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
You guys didn't stay up too late. Cake last night at the library. Everybody seems like they're pretty bright-eyed this morning, so thanks for coming in. I think on the sheet this thing talks about mold making or molds, and it also talks about surfaces. And I'm going to tell you that I'm going to briefly go over molds. I'm going to go more in depth with surfaces. I'm going to talk about the mold. I'm going to kind of show you how I pack a mold, and then how I dry it out a little bit, because it's a lot smooth on. And that's the product I use to make my molds with. And I'm not doing a little pitch for smooth on here, but this is just like their body double. This is a good mold making product. It's a silicone mold. What I'm going to show you though is the mold that I kind of used to create these pieces up here. Days ago, this one's bone dry, and this one's been fired twice. So I'll talk about all the different stages and how I kind of work each stage with my layers and surfaces that I use. Okay, so the mold, three-part mold actually. You got your mother mold, which is kind of the hard exterior shell that kind of keeps everything together and kind of keeps your shape. Now these molds are press molds versus flip casting molds where you pour a liquid into them. These ones you push clay into these things. So I'm pushing a thin layer of clay in there and I'm going to dry it from the inside out. So this is kind of what's going to give me my shape, and this is what kind of keeps the shape of the mold while I'm working on it. So when I put this thing together, you usually have a banding strap of some sort. You can use duct tape, works just as well. But I usually put the two halves together here, and like I said, you're not. The strap goes on. You want to make sure it's a good snug fit on there. And I found that if I use a little 5-gallon bucket with something in the bottom to kind of support it, I usually use a little bit of clay in there, wrapped in a bag. It'll kind of support this top part, kind of domes it up. Kind of set it in there, and that kind of gives me an area where I can turn this thing, move it. Okay. And this mold here, being that this plaster was built around this mold, so this thing was actually a piece that I had sculpted at one point. I put this rubber product on here, the silicone product. This was a 3-layer process. It set up, took a couple days for it to actually cure and everything. Then after it cured, I built this around it out of plaster. So this is the plaster mother mold, like I said, and that kind of keeps the shape of that. So after this thing was all built, I took out the plaster mother mold. I could kind of take out the clay piece that was on the inside, and then I had the hollow negative form. So this thing fits.
You might have even saved your original.
Well, I tried. I tried. Didn't happen though. I tried though. Once that thing is actually dry, I can actually use this now. I can put the clay inside there, and I can get a duplicate kind of my original piece. So usually take a piece of clay off. Usually start with something about 1.5 inches thick. Just usually slice off as I'm going. I can go through about, 3/4 of a bag and tack one mold like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of start pressing this stuff out. Kind of keep it uniformly pressed. So, everybody knows the technique of throwing out slabs. You press it out, you kind of just toss it down. That works great for doing these molds. If you're in a hurry, so you don't have a rolling pin, just kind of do this. So, I'll kind of start with something about like this, nice pancake-sized piece of clay. And I always kind of check my mold. I'm like kind of patchworking this thing together in my head, the size and the pieces that I actually need. So I'll look in there, and this thing's going to be a little bit big to fit down inside here perfectly. So I'm just going to kind of trim it up just a bit. Kind of lay in. I usually start at the very top of the head first. So the top of the head's facing down right now. So I'm thinking about putting this front edge that I'm cutting right here. This edge right down here is going to be kind of the top of the head right now. So I'm just going to start with my fingers. I'm going to start pushing around the top of the head here. And I'll show this to you guys. I'll kind of tip it up so you can all see it. I can't work up that high. I know I'm 6'3", I'm kind of a giant, but it's not coming up these tables. Well, usually I just kind of sit in the chair and do it. So I'm really working the top of the head on up to the back of the neck here. So I put this first piece in. I'm going to kind of hold this up so you can see this. It's just my fingers, push it in there, compressing it. I'm going to kind of keep working in that same manner. So I'll cut off some more clay here and make another pancake. I'm not going to do this whole entire mold. So you can see I'm using very few tools here. Well, don't really need a rolling pin if you don't have one. So now I'm thinking about covering the front of the face. If you saw inside the mold, just a little bit of that head has to be covered, so I'm going to kind of think about getting that space filled in also with the same piece, and then working out the front, going to the eyes, the lips. When I get to the eyes and lips, the clay usually thins out because, you know, if you're looking at the head, it actually does pushing back into the head there, so it's going to thin out as I'm pushing forward on it, so I usually add a little more clay to that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this, fit that shape again. You can kind of see me, I'm bending this clay and I'm sticking it in there. This won't fit otherwise. Alright, so I have it in, and I'm going to go ahead and... It seems like the eyes, the ears, the mouth, anything that does have an undercut on the head, you really have to work that clay in there, otherwise you kind of lose some of the detail. So I'm going to work up one more wall here. I'll kind of show you where I'm at on this thing. So kind of, you know, 3/4 done with it in terms of getting it filled in. I'm going to finish this little section here, and I'm going to kind of show you a little bit.